Yo, what's going on, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. And today Hu Tao is finally here, and we are getting right into her test run and our little review of her. Now, Hu Tao I'm definitely going to be summoning for, so look out for that right after this one. But first we're going to start out with trying her. Always make sure before you summon for a character that you try them. Even if you know you're going to summon the character, first of all, you get like 20 free primo gems. And you could discover that you secretly hate the character, but I mean, let's be real. Even if I didn't find her gameplay fun, I'd probably summon for her anyways. So let's go ahead and look at all of her talents. Then we'll look at her constellations really quick, and then we'll actually get to play her. Now, Hu Tao is a polearm user. Normal attacks, just 6 consecutive spear strikes, nothing special there. Charge attack, she lunges forward. So a lot of the spear characters have like their own unique way of lunging forward with the charge attack. Zhongli like disappears and drops a whole line of spears. Jiangling just kind of dashes through people. I think hers is going to be more of a dash, but it also has a special effect while she is in her elemental skill over here. So that will synergize with her auto attacks, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it doesn't look like she has anything special in her plunging attack. If we look at this, polearms are very fast, so that's why a lot of the numbers, the damage numbers you're going to see are pretty low here, because they're hitting really quickly, so you're getting these numbers at a rapid pace. But you'll still get them pretty high once you level up the talent, because obviously this is showing at level 1 at the moment. So let's move on to the next one. We have Guide to Afterlife. Only an unwavering flame can cleanse the impurities of this world. Hu Tao consumes a set portion of her HP to knock the surrounding enemies back and enter Paramita Papilio state. So in this state, keep in mind you're going to spend part of your HP. I believe the amount you're spending is 30% of your current health. So that's going to be an important number, especially with synergizing with some other characters. So while you're in the Paramita Papilio state, increases Hu Tao's attack based on her max HP at the time of entering this state. I don't know how you're changing her max HP in the middle of the state. Maybe that will happen later on by certain other characters, but currently that is not something that can actually happen, so I wouldn't be too concerned with it. Attack bonus gained this way cannot exceed 400% of Hu Tao's base attack. Now, something important to note if you don't already know, a character's base attack is a combination of the character themselves, their base attack. So if we look at her attributes, oh, you can't see her attributes. Never mind. So if you had her attributes there, she would have a base attack, which is probably like in the 100 to 200 range, somewhere in there. Plus it adds on the attack of your weapon, which weapons can get up into like the 500, 600. I don't know if any of them reach 700, but somewhere in that range. So your base attack is actually those two numbers added together. So while Hu Tao is known for having one of the lowest base attacks in the game, a weapon that she has equipped is also going to add to that. So this 400%, assuming she has like 150 base attack, somewhere in that range, and you have a weapon that has like 600 base attack, that means that your base attack is actually 750, so you can get 400% of that, which is 3,000 bonus attack, which is a lot if you didn't know, because probably none of your characters currently have 3,000 bonus or 3,000 attack. So to just be able to add 3,000 attack is a lot, but this is the maximum that it is. So it's going to be based off of how much actual maximum health you have. So you're going to want to build a lot of health, because it's a pretty low percent, somewhere in between, depending on your talent level, it's going to be anywhere in between like 6% and I think 8%. So if we have a maximum HP of 30,000, then that is, you're getting 80 from 1,000, so you're getting 800 from 10,000, so you're getting 2,400 from 30,000. Is that math right? That seems really... No, that's not right at all. It's 80... Oh, hold on. I'm just going to pull out a calculator because at the moment I can't seem to do math. So if we take 30,000 and then multiply it by 8%, so times 0.08, we end up with 2004. Oh, I was right. I don't know why I got so confused all of a sudden. I'm actually decent at math, but, you know, sometimes you just get confused for no reason. You think you got the right answer, and you do, but then you question whether you actually had the right answer. But then, moving on to what the rest of the ability does, because that part's insane, but it's important to know what is actually happening. You're going to convert your attack damage to pyro damage, which can't be overridden by anyone else, so like Chongyun, or is there anyone else who overrides other people's elements? Besides Bennett, but Bennett's pyro, so that wouldn't affect you in any way. Yeah, it can't be overridden by Chongyun, which is good, I suppose, but then why are you using Chongyun's E if you're not trying to override, you're like, not trying to do ice damage. And then your charged attacks, so this is the important part, another important part. Charged attacks apply Blood Blossom effect to the enemies, increases Hu Tao's resistance to interruption. So the Blood Blossom, another just paragraph here, when you charge attack through someone, you're going to get a Blood Blossom that will make them take pyro damage every 4 seconds, and this damage is considered an elemental skill, which I think can synergize with things that boost specifically elemental skill damage. I think maybe the Gambler set does that, so that might become relevant if there's like, because there's only a 4-star Gambler set right now. If there happens to be a 5-star Gambler set, you might be looking towards that. But each enemy can only be affected by one of these at a time, and its duration can only be refreshed by Hu Tao. I don't know of any characters that can refresh debuffs at the moment, but maybe there is. But anyways, only Hu Tao can do it, so it doesn't really matter. And then when this ends, it ends when its duration is over, or Hu Tao has left the battlefield, or she dies. So there's all that. And then when we look at the skills, you can see the attack increase starts really low, but you're probably going to want this talent as one of your highest talents. So then you're going to be getting into the 6 to 7% bonus attack range. I think if you get the constellation to boost it, you might be able to get above 7%. But activation costs of 30% current HP can be important, especially if you're combining her with Bennett, because Bennett at C0 can only heal you up to 70% of your HP. So if you spend 30% of your current HP while you're at 70% HP, you get to 49% of your HP. And this is important because Hu Tao does more damage while she's below 50% HP. And that is right below 50% HP. So that can be really valuable, but you need to make sure that you've healed up exactly to 70%, and then you don't stand on the Bennett thing anymore. So if you continue standing on it, you won't get that bonus effect. Here's the Blood Blossom damage. The Blood Blossom lasts 8 seconds. The duration of this skill is 9 seconds. I thought it was 8 seconds. Huh. Okay. It's 9 seconds apparently. And then the cooldown is 16 seconds, so that means you're spending 7 seconds without this ability up. And that's kind of like, this ability is when Hu Tao is dealing all of her damage. Pretty much you're not going to be doing a whole lot when this ability isn't up, so it kind of leaves open the option to switch to a different character while this isn't up. But we'll kind of talk about how she benefits other characters swapping in as well. First, let's go on to her Elemental Burst. Spirit Soother commands a blazing spirit to attack, dealing pyro damage in a large AoE. Upon striking the enemy, regenerates a percent of Hu Tao's max HP. This effect can be triggered up to 5 times based on the number of enemies hit. If Hu Tao's HP is below or equal to 50% when the enemy is hit, both damage and HP regen are increased. So if we look at the actual numbers here, we got skill damage, and then a second number for if she is below 50% HP, which is why I was saying earlier it might be important to use a C0 Bennett with her. But again, it's not necessary. You can also just like actually take damage. So that's an option for you to make sure that your health actually gets below that 50%. But you could see here that even at level 1, this thing is healing you. If you are below 50% HP, which you're probably using this as a heal or to deal damage, so you might want to just wait till you're below 50% HP, and then you pop this, you're getting 8% per target hit. If you're trying to hit as many targets as possible, the maximum being 5, then you're going to be healing like 40%, more than 40% HP. And once this gets leveled up, it's actually like 13% per target hit. So that can pretty much just heal you straight up to full. If you're like around 30% HP or something, you're just going straight back up to full. And that one's going to have 15-second cooldown. 60 energy cost is kind of like midway energy cost. It's not high end like the 80 energy cost ones, and it's not low end like the 40 energy cost ones. Right there in the middle, so an average amount of energy recharge will be pretty valuable on her. Now as we move on, she kind of has a support effect here with her first talent. When Paramita Papilio state activated by Guide to Afterlife ends, all allies in the party except Hu Tao will have their crit rate increased by 12% for 8 seconds. So we were saying that she has kind of like a 7-second downtime window where she can no longer be using her Paramita Papilio, and you probably want to use Spirit Soother during Paramita Papilio because you're getting all this bonus attack during it. So this skill is just going to do more damage if you're using it during this one. So you probably don't want to use this afterwards. You want to use it during just to make it do more. So then afterwards, when your Paramita Papilio actually ends, is a good time to switch to other characters that are going to be assisting in DPS, and those characters will get increased crit rate. So anyone who you're using to support Hu Tao is going to be able to deal more damage because of her, which is pretty cool. It kind of like tells you how you're supposed to play the character. You don't have to play it like that, but I think it kind of makes sense, and it encourages you to switch more often and really know what your cooldown windows are. And then when we move on to the next passive talent, when Hu Tao's HP is equal to or less than 50%, her pyro bonus damage is increased by 33%. So this makes it even more valuable for you to stay below that 50% HP. Not only is Spirit Soother doing more for you, but if you're below 50% HP, then your Guide to the Afterlife auto attacks are going to do more, and your Spirit Soother is going to do even more because all of your damage while you're in Paramita Papilio is pyro damage, and Spirit Soother is all pyro damage. So this increase of 33% is going to be massive because a lot of characters with your cup and your artifact set are getting to about 61% bonus damage for whatever element they're using, in this case pyro. You add 33% on that, that's another 50% extra damage that you're just doing, which is just insane. So trying to manage your health bar with this character is going to be really important for maximizing your damage. Shields are going to be invaluable on her because you want to keep her HP at that steady rate below 50%. You don't want her, like a healer could bring her above the 50%, which could be, it means it's decreasing your damage. Or if you're playing too risky, then you could end up dying if you're below 50% HP. So shields are going to be really good with her. Zhongli, because he's going to be lowering everyone's resistance. And I think Noelle's actually going to be pretty nice with her, especially if you have, I can't remember, I think it's a talent of Noelle's. Noelle's level 70 talent makes it so when a character takes a hit that would bring them below 30% HP, they instead get one of her shields. So that could be very good with Hu Tao as well, because you're gonna be floating around that low HP range. So when you take a big hit, say you didn't dodge an attack correctly or something, you're not dead, you have a shield, your damage is increased, you can keep going and actually deal all of your damage for the entire duration of Paramita Papilio, and then swap out afterwards and possibly go for some healing or something, or just keep her at that HP, because Noelle's passive talent is going to go on cooldown and refresh, so at some point it'll be back up for you to use again. Now, her other passive talent that's just kind of useful in the world is when Hu Tao cooks a dish perfectly, she has an 18% chance to receive an additional suspicious dish of the same type. I don't really know what that means, but I assume it's going to mean that a lot of dishes are going to have whatever this suspicious title is, which could make it better, could make it worse. I don't know. It sounds kind of interesting. Might want to watch out for eating any of those in case they have like mystery effects, but I'm sure we'll discover that in a little bit. So now when we move on to her constellations, um, I think her first two constellations are going to be her most valuable, but she does have a pretty good later on constellation, but it's going to require you to go all the way to C6. So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. While you are in Paramita Papilio state, activated by Guide to Afterlife, Hu Tao's charge attacks do not consume stamina. So like we were talking about earlier, your charge attacks are going to apply that Blood Blossom. This is just going to make it so you don't spend stamina on those. You can't stack more than one Blood Blossom on a single person. So you probably don't want to just be spamming charge attacks everywhere, because your charge attack's probably not your best source of damage. It's probably just going to be your regular pyro-infused auto attacks. But you're definitely going to want to weave charge attacks into your combo to actually apply these, and anyone who doesn't have a Blood Blossom on, you're going to want to use, and it's not going to cost you any stamina. So that's actually really nice, because you want to be using your stamina to be dodging and be sprinting around the battlefield. Wasting it on a charge attack can sometimes mean that you don't get to dodge an attack that you need it to. Now when we move on to the second constellation, it's going to increase Blood Blossom damage by an amount equal to 10% of Hu Tao's max HP at the time the effect is applied. Additionally, Spirit Soother will also apply the Blood Blossom effect. So now your only way of applying it is no longer just charge attacks, but you can also use Spirit Soother, and it's just going to deal more damage, and it's going to be based off of how much max HP you've built, which this is just going to increase your damage even more, especially if you're building a high HP Hu Tao, which you probably should be. So that's just going to be a nice one for you. Those two are probably the best. If you're just going for a little bit of constellations, I would stop at 2, but if you want to go all the way, there's something pretty sweet at the end, but we'll get there in just a second. Constellation 3 is just going to increase the level of her elemental skill. Constellation 4, upon defeating an enemy affected by a Blood Blossom that Hu Tao applied herself, all nearby allies in the party, excluding Hu Tao, will have their crit rate increased by 12% for 15 seconds. This one's kind of lackluster, especially since she's already increasing her party members' crit rate by 12% when her Paramita Papilio ends. This is just going to stack on top of that, but it's not like an amazing effect for a constellation. It's kind of just okay. It is 15 seconds, so if you're using her more as a support, then this could be more valuable, but why are you using Hu Tao as a support? Whatever. Moving on to 5, just going to increase her elemental burst level. And then when we move on to 6, this is essentially going to make you unkillable. It triggers when Hu Tao's HP drops below 25% or when she suffers a lethal strike. Hu Tao will not fall as a result of the damage sustained. Additionally, for the next 10 seconds, all of her elemental resist and physical resist is increased by 200%. So when she takes that fatal blow, she becomes incredibly tanky. Her crit rate is increased by 100%, so that means she's always going to be critting, which is really good because she has a crit damage as her kind of like character skill. So you're going to be building a lot of crit damage on her. So at this point, if this happens to you, you're always going to be critting. You're going to be incredibly tanky. Your interruption resist is going to be greatly increased, so people aren't really going to be able to knock you back or stagger you. And this effect triggers automatically when Hu Tao has 1 HP left. It can only occur once every 60 seconds. 60 seconds is a pretty low cooldown to defy death. You probably shouldn't be trying to defy death more than once every 60 seconds. Generally, the only time you're going to die is when you make a mistake, right? So you probably aren't just making mistakes repeatedly. You're probably making mistakes rarely, which means that when this triggers, you'll probably get it up again before you make another lethal mistake. Now, the problem with that is if you're not intentionally trying to trigger it, sometimes you just won't trigger it at all, because the better you're playing, the less likely you are to get this. So even though you might be playing risky low health, You might not take a hit that's taking you below 25% HP. You might just be hovering between 30 and 50% the entire time, using shields or something, which are going to support Hu Tao very well. So you probably will want to use shields even if you have this constellation. So this constellation's kind of iffy. If you're trying to make use of it intentionally, it could be good, but then you're playing with fire about as much as you can. So using your Defy Death ability intentionally means you don't have a Defy Death ability, but it can increase your power. So this one's kind of a wash in a way. You don't want to use it, but if you need it, it can be really valuable, but you're probably rarely going to use it. So I don't know. I would probably stick to 2, but 6 is probably going to make you unkillable. If you're not playing around 6 and you're just playing like you normally would play Hu Tao, 6 is just going to make it so you literally never die. Because if you're playing really well and then you do take a lethal hit, you don't die, you do whatever your party does to recover from being low HP, and then by that time, this is going to be up again. So you probably should never die if you have C6 Hu Tao. But now that we've talked about everything she can do, it's time to claim these Primo Gems and try her out. I've seen a lot of her abilities. I think her stuff is very cool. I believe she doesn't have any supports in this mission. We can also take a look at her gear really quick. I noticed with, they got her Spear, Staff of Homa here, which has crit damage, and her class thing is also crit damage. So she's got 180% crit damage. Crit rate's 54%. You're going to be shooting for as high as this you can get. 135 energy recharge. You're probably going to be looking for that, or maybe a little bit more, just to make sure that you always can have Spirit Soother up. Other than that, like, this is just going to be a great weapon for her if you have it, although it's kind of going to be difficult to get for her. So I don't know if I'm actually going to go for this weapon, but I would love to have it. And then as far as artifacts go, as I was saying, I noticed with Zhao, they gave him like really good artifacts for him. But then when we got back to Kaching, she had the good old Purple Brave set that everyone gets. But here on Hu Tao again, we got plus 18 full Fire Witch or Crimson Witch of Flames set. So she is just boosting her pyro damage like crazy. She should have about close to 61%. Her cup, oh, because her cup isn't maxed. It's only plus 18. So she only has 57.7% pyro. But yeah, with this, a build similar to this, you will have 61% pyro damage. And if you're below 50% HP, you'll have 94% pyro damage. So let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot of, ooh, I like her little dash. So we go into Paramita Papilio, and she's got some sweet attacks. Oh, hold on. Oh, not gonna lie, I actually just forgot how to do a charge attack. So I was pressing right click on my mouse to do a charge attack, and then I realized that's not how you charge attack. That's how you charge attack. You hold the click. You could see the little blossom that we've applied to that guy over there. We'll see every 4 seconds it ticks, does 6,000 damage. Still pretty good damage, even though it doesn't have that passive for doing damage based off of her max HP that you get from the constellations. Can you apply? I'm trying to hit multiple people with a charge attack. Oh, that didn't work. So let's see if we... it's probably just gonna kill him. Yeah. So I kind of want to try that again, just because I want to see if I can apply... And you can see that we're getting our ultimate really fast. I don't know, I feel like this area, when you do test runs, has increased energy recharge, because I don't feel like 135% energy recharge should be getting you your 60 cost elemental burst that quickly. But maybe not, because maybe her little blossoms, blood blossoms that she applies are getting her extra particles, which seems entirely possible. So let's see if we can apply multiple... That guy just got destroyed. Okay, those guys all die in one hit. See, there we got the ultimate literally immediately. Like there wasn't any lag time, which makes me question. I want to try and apply the Blood Blossom to more than one thing. I just did it there. Okay, so you can definitely do it. That's what I wanted to know. I was having trouble actually doing that. If you can stack up the enemies well enough, like line them up, then you can apply the Blood Blossom to more than one enemy at a time, which is what you're gonna do. It's gonna create the most elemental particles for you. Let's do a quick auto attack chain on this guy, and then we'll pretty much be done. I love her fire attacks. Her auto attack chain is nice. And you can throw in the charge attack whenever you want. Once the fire ends, this is what her auto attacks look like. It's the same chain, but without the fire effect on it. And then she just does a dash, but while she's in this, she kind of teleports. Is it different? I think it's different. Or am I crazy? Yeah, it's definitely different, right? Because she disappears fully while she's in the Paramita Papilio. Here's your elemental burst again. It's pretty cute with the little ghost. I have to say I like it quite a bit. So, that is Hu Tao. I'm definitely... Oh, I didn't mean to start again, actually. I meant to leave the domain. That is Hu Tao. Her skills look really good. On paper, she seems really strong, and I've heard already that she's quite strong from people that have her. So she's definitely on my list of things to summon. We're gonna go ahead, grab the Primo Gems. And yeah, that's what Hu Tao does. Hopefully, if there was anything you didn't understand about her skills, now it makes sense. Pretty much knew all of them coming into this. I'm definitely going to be summoning for her. That should be coming up right after this one. And we got plenty of summons. We are ready. We have enough to hit pity twice. And if our past experience has taught us anything, then we're probably going to need close to that. But maybe we'll get lucky. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this one. And I will see you next time.